Greetings, the people of Uganda, countrymen and countrywomen. First of all, I want to talk a little bit about crime. We continue to get some crime, but these criminals are not very clever because they should know that we shall get them, inevitably. This is because the capacity of the police has gone up. Although there are still some gaps and some weaknesses, but there is no way you can do bad things and you think we shall not know you. It may take a little bit of time, but we shall know you, and you will most likely die if you try especially to resist. I can take an example of the ones who killed Kaguta, our LC councillor from Kamocha. In no time, the police got suspects, and they have arrested a number of them already. Another one, who was apparently one of the big suspects and had been notorious robbing people, the police went to get him somewhere. He tried to escape and he was killed. So that one is accounted for already, dead. Others arrested. The ones who killed the cow from Buko, we already have, the police already have the guns, the type of guns that were used. They were used in past crimes, especially the robbery in Nansana some years ago. Some of those guns were used in the issue of Ogwang, the cow. So, and because of that, police are already connecting, and we shall get the killers. The other day, there were some panga groups which attacked a police checkpoint near Yoweri, killed one policeman, injured another one, and took 2 guns. Immediately, the police brought a police dog. The police dog traced them up to a school. From the school, they entered into a vehicle, and the tires were there. So the police are looking for that vehicle. So in all this, you can see that I just want to inform the criminals that where we are now, it is no longer possible for you to commit this type of crime, and you think we shall not get you. And definitely we shall get you. Like we got the ADFs in Congo. So many of them have been killed. Ugandans, Somalis, Tanzanians, Burundians. So really my advice to those who think they can commit crime is that stop, you will not escape, we shall get you. In the past we had the problem of the courts giving bail and so on, but I must thank the courts now. It seems they have guided their magistrates and people involved. They no longer carelessly give bail. So really the criminals, you are okay, causing us problems, but most likely you will lose either your freedom or even your life. Now, I came back here again to talk about the high cost of living because of so many things happening in the world. And I could see that probably the NRM Secretariat should do more work to explain to the public about what happens in the world that affects the lives of our people. The present hike of commodities, as I said the other week, really starts with two issues. Number one was the corona. That corona caused many businesses to close because hotels were closed, airlines were stopped, schools were closed, people could no longer congregate, so consumption went down in the whole world. People were consuming less. In fact, many of the companies got bankrupt. For instance, I know a textile company which was coming here to build a textile factory here. They had been in Ethiopia. We were discussing with them how to build textile factories here. And they were apparently a big company. But because of this corona, I hear they collapsed. Why? Because their business of textiles was based on supermarket. They produce textiles, they give them to the supermarket. Supermarket are the ones who sell the textiles. Now with the corona, people are no longer going to the textiles, to the supermarkets. Instead, a new business of delivering at home started. Totally new business. To order online. People are now ordering online and then they bring to your home. So the other companies, which were based on supermarkets, collapsed. So after 2 years of this closure, then the whole world opens up after the vaccination. Now, many of the companies which were producing some of the products had either collapsed or gone to other products. This is the story of the palm oil, the one for soap. The companies which used to produce palm oil for soap in Indonesia and in Malaysia had already forgotten about selling palm oil for soap because people were using less soap now. If the hotels are closed, the schools are closed, the airlines are no longer flying, how many people are using soap? Yes, they're using some soap, but small amounts in their homes. So the soap now was being used in homes, no longer in schools, no longer in hotels. Now, so some of those companies had either gone to other products or gone bankrupt. So when there was opening, the demand was so big, the companies could not catch up immediately. But in the case of palm oil, it seemed the Indonesians and the Malaysians had shifted that palm oil from soap making to something else, I think to making fuel or something like that. So that's why we told you that was one of the main problems, the problem of corona. But at the same time, another problem was coming up, the problem of fuel, the problem of petroleum. They use words which you may not know in our ordinary language. The problem of petroleum initially started with really it's an old story. I could say it starts with imperialism. The foreigners who from 1500 started coming from Europe and taking over the whole world. When the imperialists started moving towards Africa, following 1453 is when Constantinople, what is now called Istanbul, was taken over by the Turks. The Muslims came from the east and they captured that city of Constantinople. In what in the Bible, in the book of the Acts of the Apostles, is what they call Asia Minor. Asia Minor, during that time of Jesus, people who were living there were, I think, Greeks or people like that. That's why you hear places in the Bible, Galatia, Ephesus, those are all biblical names, mainly occupied by Greeks. Corinth is still there. That one is in Greek. Thessalonica. Now, part of that land was taken over by Muslims in 1453. And when the Muslims took over, they blocked the West Europeans from getting products from the East, from China and India, especially spices. Spices were very crucial for preservation of food during winter. So the Europeans now started looking for another way to go to the East. That's how they started, the Portuguese started trying to go around Africa. 1472, they got near Sierra Leone. 1482, they got to where Angola is now. 1487, a man called Bartholomew Diaz got to what they call the Cape of Good Hope. And 1498, Vasco da Gama went around South Africa and landed at Natal on Christmas Day, 1498. That's why they call Natal, Natalis, being born. Now, these Europeans initially were really pushed by genuine reasons, by good reasons. They wanted to go to the East to avoid the Muslims who had blocked them to get products which they needed for their lives. But now, a new problem came in. They became greedy. Instead of looking how to solve their problems, they now wanted to control the people they were coming across. And they started taking slaves. So the slave trade started from that time, from about 1472. And it went on for almost 300 years, up to 1822, when William Wilberforce started a movement in England to fight, to stop it. So, in that process of the Europeans being greedy, they started doing really things which are not properly thought out. Just looking for money, shortcut, money. You can imagine slave trade. That was one of the ways they were going to make money. But then there was another problem. The problem of internal weaknesses among ourselves. Especially at that time by the tribal chiefs. Tribal chiefs, instead of defending us, they were busy fighting one another. And that's how, by 1900, Africa having gone through slave trade of almost 400 years, the whole of Africa is colonized. Combination of external greed and internal weaknesses. Now, the greedy foreigners, because of looking for quick ways of how to make money, not looking for solutions, they kept coming up with all sorts of things. Some of them good, some of them not properly thought out. You come to the question of, but before I come to that, when they came here, the Europeans, they created another local group of people who who were believing in whatever they were being told. Do this, they do it. Do that, they do that. These were like the soldiers, like the Idi Amin type, the clerks who are working with the Europeans, and some of the business groups which came up, these commission agents who import things from others and sell here. So that was also another problem. So you get the foreigners greedy, you get the original group, the chiefs who did not mobilize us and were busy fighting one another. Then you get another group of internal collaborators. So when these people come with their greed, Africa had very many good things which had been proven by time that they can work and they are safe. You want to dry millet, use the sun. The sun was the energy. Because if you use the word energy in English, our people may not get it very well. They may think energy is... The other day in Solota I said, you translate energy. Somebody said strength, amani. It's not amani. Energy in this case means things you use to help you. I don't know how you will translate it. You have to look for how to translate it. Nayende was even atuyamba okukola ku mirimu egimu. Energy, because energy now you are talking of, you want to dry millet, use the sun. Combining the sun and the wind, because the wind also dries. You want to winnow, to remove husks from millet, use wind. But Banyankore women ukwera, they do like this, and then the wind blows away the husks. Umweziga. You want to cook, you use firewood. That is all together called energy in English now. We must get a word which we can translate so that our people can understand it. Because when you say energy, for them, our people say amani. Because I had somebody trying in Latin to say Aigong. I said, no, Aigong is for wrestling. It doesn't answer the issue. So, for us, for centuries, we are using sun to dry, wind to blow things, fire to cook, to roast, pressure to okura, when you are, the Baganda I think call it okuba, but the Banyangwara have got a better word, okura. When you heat millet and you separate it. So we are using that science, which was safe and proven that it has no danger. Now, these people come, they say, no, there is a new source of energy. It is called petroleum. It is from the soil. Initially, we in Ntungamo were suspicious about petrol. I had my aunt in the 1940s and 1950s. When she would go to Ntungamo, to the trading center, she would come back holding her nose that the vehicles have ukunyampa. Ukunyampa is when the gas coming out of the southern part of the body. I don't know what they call it in Uganda, but in Nyankole it means. So my aunt, she was older than me. She was a teenager. The gas of the cars have upset my stomach that she cannot eat because she has smelled and we thought it was, and then she would go and see we had that small group of Indians. For us, we the Banyankore, don't eat fried food. We just boil the food. You boil it. You can add some ghee, but we never fry. They do frying oksika. It's not part of our culture. So my aunt will come back, that she has seen people at Ntungamo Trading Center eating Eviroro are the brown film which you see in the swamp. The swamp, I think it is some form of iron, some suspension on top of the water, of the swamp water. I have seen people eating that swamp suspension. And so on. Rice, I will not tell you what she told me about rice because you may kill me. Because we were not eating rice. but no, we were told no. This is modernity. Forget about your drying, the way you are drying, forget about the other one. Now this is the modern thing. Now, the people who are pushing this, we are pushing it without fully understanding the science of petrol. Now, after almost 100 years, something, of using petroleum, it has turned out to be a big poison. When you use petroleum in cars, it increases the amount of carbon dioxide in the air, and the whole world. The carbon dioxide is like a blanket, does not allow heat to escape into the beyond the atmosphere, and therefore you endanger the climate of the globe. So after 100 years of using this material, the whole world is now saying, we are dying. So recently, there was a conference in Scotland. I didn't go, but Dr. Gunda went there, and they said petroleum must not be used in cars after 20 years. So that's how now the companies which have been looking for petroleum stopped. They are no longer looking for the petroleum. They are no longer looking for new petroleum. So the small amount of petroleum which is already known, the price has now gone up. Even before the war in Ukraine, it had gone from I think it was $60, it had gone to $80. With the war in Ukraine, it went to now 100. So that's the issue of petroleum. Now, why the prices are up? The prices are that petroleum, again, it will no longer be used in vehicles. Some of these people can talk more about it if they know more about it. Later, I will ask them. So that means, so the world is now saying you must go to the African energy, the one they abandoned, the one they told us to abandon. We must go back to the African energy, which is what? Solar, wind, of course there is some hydro. Hydro was added. Was added. Of course, the Africans were also using hydro not to produce electricity, but to do work, to wash, to things, to clear. They were using water for that. So the world is now going away from petroleum for cars to solar, wind, nuclear, and hydro. That's the problem of petrol. Why it has gone up now. So you should all know it. Don't get worried that, Uganda had just found petroleum. Now it has lost at ADBA. It has now lost value. No. First of all, this 20 years where we can get we can harvest like the others are harvesting. Because it takes time to migrate, to go from petrol to the other forms of energy. But even after that, I think you have seen me these days putting on a very nice shirt, which I put on all the time. That shirt is 65%, what do they call the thing? Polyester, 65% polyester. Even these uniforms we are putting on, they are 65% polyester, 35% cotton. So petroleum will still be used for cloth, for fertilizer, for tarmac roads, making tarmac roads, for other things. It will still have use. The people can explain about it later. I brought the scientists here. I will introduce them to you. They will explain to you. Because I want you all to know what is happening. So, what will change, therefore, is from using the petroleum in the car, because that's the bad use. This is the bad use. To safer uses. We should have safer uses. So therefore, when this problem comes up, and by the way, the kutomera by these money seekers is not only in petroleum. I remember 1964. I think that was the year when cotton got the lowest price. Why? At that time, nylon, there was a fiber known as nylon. Oh, nylon is the good. So people were abandoning cotton. 1964. You can check the records. 64 Then after some years, nylon is not good. It's not good for the skin. We'll go back to cotton. So that kutomera, that greed for money, which does not make them do proper research, is what you should know. Asbestos At one time, asbestos is the good material. After some time, asbestos is causing cancer. So, now in this case, because petroleum used to drive cars goes into everything. That's why you find even matoke from Bushenyi, from Chenjojo, is also expensive. Why? Because the vehicles carrying it are using fuel which is very expensive. So therefore, the question is, what do we do? Some people have been saying, remove taxes on some of the fuel. Others say, subsidize. But we have advised you that that's not wise. We have advised that you see what you are recommending is that we subsidize the graveyard. Dead life is the one we should subsidize. And for us, we are advising you that, please, if we have got money, let us put it to where there is safety. Gye tunaatera okusenga si bwe tugamba mu lulimi olwaffe. Akasente mu kifo ky'okateeka mu matongo mu ekiri amatongo ebifurukwa mu ekiri amatongo. Abaganda banyankole ddala balinga abanyankole boogera lulimi lumu. Akasente, this little money we have, instead of putting it here where there is danger and people are running away, let us put it where we are going, so that we can get there faster and we are safer. And where is the safe place? Two places. Number one, electric vehicles, electric buses, electric lorries, electric minibuses. They're even talking of electric bodabodas, I hear, and electric cars. Fortunately, we had started building these vehicles. We were not doing it because we knew that petroleum would become a big problem, but we were doing it in order to develop our country. Of course, we were also looking at assembling and fabricating the buses of the diesel. Like, for instance, our man Katawazi, Metu was putting it together, fabricating the diesel ones. But when this problem has come, we have said, only the one who is mad can continue with this. Let's go to the safer solution. Now the second solution is the train. The train, because the train will use either electricity or will use, even if they use diesel, it will be much less diesel, I think. I don't know. We need to get there. But we can use electricity for the train so that we use much less fuel. So today, I brought scientists here so that they tell you more about these solutions. Maybe I start with Museveni to tell us about the electric vehicles.
Thank you, Your Excellence. for the guidance you've given to the nation. Indeed, electric vehicles are the correct way to go, because on top of the environmental opportunities that we get by avoiding pollution, and here, Your Excellence, allow me to note that a typical diesel bus releases 1.2 kilograms of carbon dioxide per kilometer. The acceptable standards by the United Nations Economic Commission for Europe is 172 grams per kilometer. So when you do the computation, you see that this is way over and above what is acceptable. And the electric bus emits zero. Now, while the cost of the electric bus initially is higher, perhaps twice that of its diesel equivalent along the entire segment of products, the total cost of ownership, which combines the initial cost of the asset plus the operating and maintenance cost and the running costs, what you put in fuel and so on, combined over its life. For the electric bus, it is 60% of the total cost of ownership of an equivalent diesel bus. And here, Your Excellency, I would also want to continue to note that when we look at the Kayola electric bus, in its life, it gives you 900,000 kilometers in its life. The diesel equivalent will give you 200,000 kilometers before you go to either do a total overhaul or have challenges of very expensive running costs because of regular breakdown. Your Excellency, also allow me to note that in terms of energy consumption for the electric bus compared to the diesel equivalent, we are looking at the electric bus consuming 22% of the diesel equivalent. And when I talk in the language that the Honorable would understand better, we are saying that the electric bus consumes just under 1 unit. And if this unit we are using the utility or the street lighting tariff, it's about 370 Uganda shillings. So just under 1 unit, we are talking about 360 Uganda shillings to run 1 kilometer of a bus which has a capacity of 90 passengers. The diesel equivalent costs 5 times more to run. So we see that there is a great opportunity there when we are moving. Allow me also to note that there are opportunities in other segments like the border borders, which will continue to play a very important role in logistics, and the feeder route for passengers, bringing people from home to the stage as they're used today. And we see that today already here in Uganda, a border which uses petrol costs about 5 million, brand new. That is a Bajaj 100cc. And we have people who are already either assembling or even doing some local manufacturing of parts in border borders. We have Zembo, we have Border Work.
They are manufacturing
border borders. They're assembling and also manufacturing some parts of border borders, electric border borders.
Electric?
Electric. Mm-hmm. And a brand new electric border made by the International University of East Africa, which is here, is going for 7 million shillings. It may still be a little bit higher, but when we go into the operating costs, certainly the users will benefit more by even up to 25% cut, or rather a difference in terms of operating and the running costs. So while right now these initiatives are still on a small scale, as we transition and we get to enjoy the economies of scale, we will see better benefits in terms of putting more money in the user and the operators of these devices. Allow me to also note that Your Excellency, our power generation, again, Honorable Nankabira is better positioned to talk about it, but we are generating a lot of power. The last time I checked, we were at about 1,000, just above 1,200, moving on to almost 2,000 megawatts of generation capacity. And our consumption was still shy of 700 megawatts. Now, yes, we will produce petroleum over time, and it has so many other applications, but this energy, when you look at our energy equation, you import petroleum to run mobility devices, but we're also generating energy, which is clean, mainly from hydro, over 95% from hydro. So we also have an opportunity there to leverage our investment in hydro generation to enable people to move. The argument, of course, sometimes has been, do we do it immediate? I say that a journey of 1,000 steps starts with one. Your Excellency, with your visionary leadership, we have started. We are not talking about a future which is far off. We have a capacity here to make electric buses, and we will extend this to other segments of vehicles. We have capacity to make electric vehicles. We need to go a step further and look into also making the electric vehicle batteries here, and that is practical and possible. And certainly, over the 20 years we have, we should have totally transitioned the mobility requirements to fully electric. And again, as you have advised, a mix of both electric vehicles and also electric trains will certainly be the panacea to having a sustainable or the correct way of addressing this issue, because indeed, petroleum, the investment globally is not increasing, and therefore it can no longer be sustainable for us to match the demand globally. We must move, and we are ready to move. I thank you so much, Your Excellency.
So I think Moran Ankabiro can translate for us what I've been saying and what, so that our Katwe people can understand. Can you try and summarize in our local language? Because we speak English, but many of the people who are concerned don't know English well. Bien jogede na musasiwa yogede obufunze.
Kale sebo. Webale nnyo ebalire ddala Oweekitiibwa President. Omulamwa gw'okwogera kwa President okw'olwaleero guli ku bbeeyi y'ebintu eyeekalamye. Bbeeyi erinnye nnyo. Era President atubuulidde nti ensonga ziri bbiri enkulu ezaaviiriddeko okulaba nti tuli mu katuukano ke tulimu. Ayogedde ku kirwadde kirumiimamawuggwe oba kye tuyita eky'ekisenyiga ekikambwe, nti bwe kyajja ensi yonna yasannyalala. Ensi yonna yalinga eri ku muggalo. Tewaaliwo kugula bintu, tewaaliwo kukola bintu, tewaaliwo kutambula.
Okugula ebintu kwakendeera.
Okugula ebintu kwakendeera, okutambula kwakendeera, okukuŋŋaana mu bifo ebireetera abantu okugula abantu nakwo kwakendeera, kuba buli muntu yali alina okutuula awaka okulaba nti alya kyalidde naye ng'okugula ebintu kukendeera. Kampuni zaagwa, ezimu zaggalwa kubanga zaalina obuzibu obw'okuba nti ebintu bye zikola tewaliiwo katale kamatiza.
Amasomero tegaliiwo.
Amasomero agaali gakozesa sabbuuni,
amahoteri,
zissemaduuka oba supermarket ezaagulanga engoye nga kampuni yali ekola engoye.
Ennyonyi, okutambula mu nnyonyi.
N'okutambula kwonna mu nnyonyi. Kampuni nnyingi ne ziba nga zifunye obuzibu obwa ssente olw'ekirwadde ekyo. Kakati ekirwadde bwe kyakendeera, ensi neggulwawo, amangu ago akatale kaali kaagala ebintu ebirala ebitakyaliyo, kubanga kampuni zino ezaabonaabona ezimu zaava mu kukola ebyo bye zaali zikola kubanga tezaaliko katale. kati nga kampuni ezimu ezaali zikola ezaali zirimu oba ebinazi mwe tujja amafuta zaali zakyuka ne zidda mu kukola ekintu ekirala ekireeta amagoba. Kakati omuggalo bwe gwaggwaawo ng'abantu baagala ebintu naye ng'ababikola batono, ebintu ne bifuuka bya bbula. Buli kintu lwe kifuuka ekyebbula, ebbeeyi erinnya, abantu batandika okukansa kubanga biba bitono mu katale, so ow'essente nnyingi y'aba alina okukola ki? Okugula ebintu ebyo. So ebbeeyi y'ebintu nejja ng'erinnya mpola mpola, naddala okuviira ddala ekirwadde kino we kyajjira. Kati ensonga ey'okubiri, g'amafuta nago okuba nti nago gaafuuka nga gagenda galinnya mu nsi yonna. Amafuta gagenda galinnya kubanga amafuta ga bulabe, gavaamu omukka ogubikka akabubi ako. Ebbugumu eriva mu nsi wano ne liba nga terikyagenda. Kakati ebbugumu bwe lituddira, ensi oyinza ogaa neekwata omuliro naye ebbugumu ne liba lingi. Kakati ensi yonna neeba nga efaayo nnyo okulaba nti tugitaasa kubanga ffenna kitukwatirako wamu. Kakati ababadde bateeka ensimbi mu kwongera okuyiikuula amafuta mu ttaka ne bagenda bajjamu enta okuteeka ensimbi mu kukola amafuta ago, olw'okubanga amafuta gavaamu omukka omubi. Naffe wano mu Uganda tulina essuubi, tukyaganoonya era tujja kugasima kubanga pulezidenti agambye wadde petulooli oyo aleeta okuggyawo obutonde bw'ensi, naye ate era akyaliko wa mugaso kubanga waliwo ebintu ebijja okwetaaga petulooli. Waliwo n'engoye ddala nga zikozesa obumu ku busimo obuli mu mafuta ng'engoye nga polisita gwe mumanyi ne nylon. Obusimo obumu obwo buva mu mafuta ate ne bukola engoye ezo. Seera n'abakugu abalala bajja tubuulira nti amafuta tukyageetaaga, naye ekikulu kiri nti enkozesa yaago, okugakozesa mu bidduka, ebidduka bifuumuula nnyo omudumu ogwo. N'olwekyo tugenda kukendeeza enkozesa yaago n'ensima yaago. Kati nga Uganda yeekenneenyezza nnyo, tutaddewo amateeka agakuuma obutonde bw'ensi. Petulooli waffe gwe tugenda okusima, ffe tetugenda kumwokya ng'abalala abaatusooka kye bayita flaring, bo baagwokya ne gagenda mu bbanga. Ffe gaasi waffe asooka okuvaayo oyo tetugenda mwokya, tugenda kumukuŋŋaanya tufune kye bayita gaasi ow'amazzi, liquefied petroleum gas. Nti ensi bw'eba etambula okuva mu kukozesa petroleum, ffe tugamba abantu abakyatema emiti bookya amanda bafumbe, waakiri bakozeseko gaasi oyo. Y'ensonga lwaki tugenda mu maaso n'okubuulira ensi nti amafuta ga Uganda ge yazuula ejja kugasima nga yeegendereza obutakosa butonde bwa nsi, kubanga amafuta tugeetaaga okuyamba okukendeeza okutema emiti. Ne saayansi gwe tutandise okuteekako essira wano mu Uganda nga okukola eggaali y'omukka. For example, singa tugiteekamu essente, eggaali y'omukka ekozesa liiters ntono nnyo mu kutambuza ebyamaguzi oba n'abantu. Emmotoka bwe zaali beeredde nga 50, eggaali y'omukka emu eyinza okutwala abantu abo oba n'ebintu ebyo. Kitegeeza omukka oguvaayo guba mutono. Naye n'ekyokubiri, Uganda y'emu ku nsi ezitandise okukolera ddala emmotoka ez'amasannyalaze. Era mwami Musaasizi ne banne atubuulidde wano emmotoka ey'akayoola eyakolebwa nga etambulira ku masannyalaze era nga tevaamu mukka ogwo ogwonoona obutonde bw'ensi, kubanga Uganda erina omulimu ogw'okulaba nga ekendeeza ku bintu ebivaamu omukka ogwo ogwonoona obutonde bwansi. So bannayuganda bakimanye nti abaana bammwe abaasoma saayansi bakoze ebidduka ebigenda okukozesa amasannyalaze, ng'omwo mulimu ne boodabooda. Boodabooda ekoleddwa wano mu Uganda egula obukadde 7 empya. Bodaboda zino endala ze mugula ebweru ezikozesa agamafuta agavaamu omukka omukyamu oyinza okulaba nti zigula bbeeyi ya wansi, naye bw'ogattako ensaasaanya n'entambuza yaazo bodaboda y'amasannyalaze ewangaala nnyo okusinga bodaboda eya dizero. N'emmotoka yennyini ey'amasannyalaze etambula kilometers mpanvu nnyo okusinga emmotoka eno ekozesa dizero. So mu Uganda bannassaayansi baffe batandise okukolera ddala emmotoka zino era muziraba ku Ntebe Road zitambula. Bwe nagenda e Lore sebo pulezidenti nalaba pikipiki ez'amasannyalaze ne engine ez'amaato ez'amasannyalaze nga ziri mu kugezesebwa. So ebintu ebyo ebikozesa amasannyalaze tugenda kubyongeramu amaanyi kubanga obutonde bw'ensi tubwetaaga. Kaakati pulezidenti agenze nnyo mu history ey'abantu abaatutwala mu kkemebwa abajja nga baagala okutukozesa bo nga banoonya ensimbi okwekkusa, naye ate ne bakola omululu gw'amaanyi. Bwe baakola omululu ogw'amaanyi ne batandika okutunda abantu ebweru, slave trade, muzeeyi abyogeddeko. Naye okusingira ddala singa twasigala ku nkola yaffe eri, waliwo ebika kati nga abanyankole ebbonga n'okuwunyiriza obuwunyiriza amafuta kimukolera ddala bubi, n'okulya ebisiikiddwa butto. Kino kiringa kino ekyovu ekibeera mu bisaalu, ekyovu ekyo ekya kitakataka, ndowooza oba osiisa ennyaanya. Kaakati enkola yaffe eyo ey'edda yatuleeteranga n'abantu okuwangaala ennyo nga tebasiika, naye era bano abazungu abajja abaatuyingirira be baatuyigiriza ebyo byonna. Kati obutto bwabula omuntu agamba enva tezijja kuwooma kubanga tasiise. N'amafuta gano gennyini ag'emmotoka gali mu buli katawuni, gali mu buli wantu wonna. So mu bimpimbi pulezidenti atugambye essente zaffe tuziteeke bulungi, tuzisige bulungi mu kintu ekinaatutaasa, tuleme kusiga mu matongo. Abantu we baava edda ag'amatongo gaddukibwamu dda tegatugasa. Tusige wali we tusenze tusobole okutambulira ku mulembe, we tusenze wewa
ku mulembe in safety.
Tutambule nga tumanyi nti tujja kubeerawo awatali kabi konna, awatali kweraliikirira,
ate waliwo future
nga waliwo n'essuubi nti n'abali tuddira mu bigere bagenda kusanga omusingi ogwo gwe tusize. Essuubi liri liddawa? Essuubi liri mu bannassaayansi baffe. Bannassaayansi baffe be batuyiiyiza nti kakati katukozese emmotoka ez'amasannyalaze, electric cars, katukozese bodaboda ez'amasannyalaze. Uganda erina okutambula n'ensi yonna mu energy transition, obanga tusimbula okuva kati ffe tusimbula kuva mu manda. Era kino omuzeeyi mbadde nkibuulira ensi yonna nti bwe tuba tuyimba energy transition tumanye nti olugendo tetulutandikidde wamu. Abalala balina boarding pass already, Uganda ekyasazisa busazisa passport. Tuva mu manda tudde mu LPG tugende bulungi mu electricity. Abalala bo baava dda ne mu LPG bali mu electricity. Naye nga Uganda ewagira nti tukozese ebyo ebitaasa obutonde bw'ensi, naye buli muntu atambulire ku pace gy'asobola. Kantwala omukisa guno era okutegeeza abatuuliriza nti Uganda esuubira ti mu mafuta gaayo mwegenda okujja ensimbi okukola ku misingi egy'enkulaakulana, okukola enguudo abantu ze baagala, okutambuza amasannyalaze. Essaawa eno amasannyalaze ge tulina ge tusuubira okujja mu daamuzi zonna ze tulina gali megawatts 1,378.1 megawatts. Naye bwe gabanga oluusi ennyanja amazzi tegatambula naddala okw'omusana gakendeera okukola amasannyalaze ne gataba mangi, tubeera ku megawatts 9. Naye singa bonna bakozesa amasannyalaze ku ssaawa eyo bonna bwe bakozesereza tuba tukozesa amasannyalaze megawatts 8 mwami Musaasizi. So tuba tulina ekikumi ekyo. Ate tusuubira ne amasannyalaze amalala okujja on board agava e Karuma units 3 ezijja okutuwa megawatts 3 mu October. Tuli kati mu testinga okulaba nti bwe tunaswitchinga on oba bwe tunaateekako switch ku masannyalaze gaffe tetujja kufuna buzibu. So mu bimpimpi mukama wange
very good. So kati n'olwekyo tugenda, therefore we are going ahead with the science. I want to assure Ugandans that if we are disciplined and we have everything, we have the capacity, we have trained our people, fortunately, and we started supporting them even when we didn't have enough money. You can see that the parable in the Bible, the foolish man who built his house on sand, when the wind came, the house collapsed. But the wise one who built on hard ground, so we were supporting these groups like Musasi's long ago, like 10 years ago, without knowing that we would be having a crisis. But because we wanted a broader science base, now you see here we are. We have a solution. The solution is there. So let's now, all of us, understand that electric and the train are the solution. And we shall put all our money there. Yes, it can't be done overnight. So therefore the answer is that for now, tunokekereza enkozesa ya gano amafuta amabi ugakekereza so that we as we are waiting for more vehicles, more borders, more buses of electric to be available, so that we buy them and then forget about these petrol cars. But we also have other efforts, like for instance, we have designed a fire extinguisher, because in Europe they are burning. I think the computer there can show us the screen, see whether you can show us what's happening in Europe. Europe is burning because of the climate. You can imagine UK, they had 41 degrees centigrade. Here in Kampala, we have never even reached 35. Never. I don't think we have ever reached 30. That's what is happening in Europe and Europe, Spain, France, Portugal, United States. So we have designed, Engineer Rumu, you talk about the fire eater, the African fire eater.
Your Excellency, thank you very much for the opportunity to explain to Ugandans exactly what we have done. His Excellency developed a concept whereby we would apply the ordinary methods used by Africans, especially in Ankole region, to extinguish fires. In other words, you attack the fire from the front, not from the rear, which means it will never run away. And we developed an all-terrain vehicle based on tracked chassis, which can move in all terrain and is powered by a very powerful engine or electric motor. We are actually working to use an electric motor now, because we also realize that diesel engine may not be there in 20 years' time, as His Excellency has highlighted. This vehicle we are now in the final stages of actually registering the patent, which means it is a true innovation initiated by His Excellency the President, and the idea developed by our scientists in Uganda. This prototype sometime back was put on exhibition at Nakasongola, and at an available opportunity, we will take some press members again to view and advertise this product. Thank you very much, Your Excellency.
Thank you. Now, then also, okweyimirizaawo, we are busy with the vaccines. Maybe we can hear from Professor Kalebo Ponsiano.
Yes, Your Excellency. Thank you for inviting us here to just give a brief on where we are. You gave us a task. Of course, all of you know the time of COVID, you were left behind. We were beggars. And with your advice, I think you said we need really to innovate so that we don't face such challenges as we move forward. And you even brought us the term of pathogen economy. For those, to simplify it, pathogens, viruses, bacteria, parasites, are all pathogens. Can we use those? We have a lot of pathogens, viruses, bacteria in Africa. But can we use that as an opportunity? Instead of crying we have diseases and all that, use it as an opportunity to innovate. And the task you gave us was on vaccines. And we have progressed, and I want to just brief listeners where we are. We have our scientists, unfortunately, some are not here, but I'll represent them as their leader, but also talk about a few other innovations within the pathogen economy. We at Uganda Virus Research Institute, using the facilities and the funding we have received from the government, we are working on two vaccines for COVID. One is inactivated COVID vaccine, and the other one is using a vector, or I could call it a vehicle, to carry parts of the COVID virus. Inactivated means you make the real virus, SARS-CoV-2, inactive. A vaccine works by deceiving the body. The body thinks that it has been invaded by the real virus, but you have modified it so that it doesn't cause disease, but it switches on an immune system so that you produce soldiers, antibodies, and T cells. So you inactivate. Some people say inactivation is not that easy. You don't just kill or boil, because if you boil and kill, you may lose the structures that the body needs to see to produce the antibodies. So you need to inactivate the virus, but retain its structure. For the COVID, we want the spike, that outside part of the virus that it uses to attack, to enter our cells. So we inactivate it using chemicals, and then after inactivating it, you purify it. After purifying it, you add it to other chemicals that will allow us to stimulate the immune system. So where we are, our scientists they got the virus from infected individuals using the virus, not the Wuhan from China, but from the viruses from our infected individuals, grew it. It was not easy, Your Excellency, as you know, even from the start, getting the cells, what we call the viral cells, to grow the virus. Even getting the chemicals to inactivate took us time. Now it is being purified, and from the results we got that were presented to us the other time, we just need to purify it a little bit more so that it doesn't have all these impurities of the cells where it has been grown. Then we are going to work with our colleagues at Makerere to move this product into the preclinical using mice, and they have already got the Swiss mice. And the reason you do this, you don't go into humans straight away. You first check that your vaccine will induce or will produce the required immune response in these small animals and the mice. If it works well, then we shall also do what we call challenge studies. You use the vaccine, you inject it in these mice, then you challenge them with the SARS-CoV-2 to see whether it's protecting. And those are different types of mice. Those are the ones people were talking about coming from America and all that, very expensive, indeed very expensive, because they have been humanized. They have been given some genes of a human, so they're humanized mice, very expensive. So that is the step. Then after that, planning to go into humans, that is a big step, because there you need to produce the vaccine under what they call good manufacturing practice, whereby you follow the regulation international, it is pure, it is well documented, and that is a step that we need to go to, and then we go into the humans. That's one. The other vaccine we're working on, our scientists have really done a good job. They have produced an adeno. An adenovirus is a virus from monkeys that will not infect humans, but can be used as a vehicle to carry parts of the coronavirus. And the adenochip, this way of doing vaccines is the one we use for AstraZeneca. It uses a chimp adeno, but we wanted to get ours, because when you get our own vehicle, it will not only be used for SARS-CoV-2, but for other diseases. So my colleagues, the first one of inactivated is led by Dr. Jennifer Serwanga, who is out of the country now, again learning how to work on GMP, and the colleague, Dr. Sheila Balinda, is working on the vectored vaccine, and they have done very good science. They have inserted part of COVID spike into a chimp adeno, a new chimp adeno that has not been described before. And again, the next step, I had a meeting with her this week, is to express it, to see that it is really coming out very nicely, the spike. Then plans will go into the preclinicals, into mice, working with our colleagues in Makerere. Then the future will go, if it works well, it will go into the humans. I think the key thing here is developing the capacity for the future, human and infrastructure. We may not be there as quickly for SARS-CoV-2, but how about other diseases? I can give you a story now of monkeypox. Everyone is so talking about monkeypox because it's on CNN. But we have had monkeypox in Africa for many years. In Congo, they have lost people, but we have no vaccine. We have no treatment. It is now in Europe. Now the world is waking up. Supposing we had woken up earlier, we would have managed monkeypox because it is endemic in Africa. So I think your encouragement and the funding is good for the future. If we don't start now, who will start? Yeah? Our grandfathers did not start. Our fathers did not start. We need to start now for the future. So in the pathogen economy, beyond the vaccines, there are other colleagues who are working on therapeutics. And again, for us at the Uganda Virus Research Institute, what we have done is to develop capacity to test the herbs in the lab to see whether they have an effect to kill viruses, antiviral, in vitro studies. Again, my colleague, Dr. Jackie Chosimire, is working on that. Already we have shown one of the products from Busitema has passed the stages. It has shown antiviral effect in the lab. Hence, that is a step to encourage our colleagues in Busitema to go into human studies. So we have developed now the capacity really to test a number of herbs, a number of products in the lab for antiviral activity before they just go randomly into humans. And that is, again, another capacity that is quite important. I know other colleagues in Makerere who are working on diagnostics. So that is where we want to go. Let's invest, let's encourage, because we're building capacity, human and infrastructure for the future to fight some. In the future, we may get diseases that are only localized, and the rest of the world may just be looking. So we need to find solutions. So this is the update where we are. We are moving. I keep telling people, science, we in the lab, we're not like carpenters. You give me a saw, you give me wood, I will give you a table tomorrow. You move forward and backwards, but at least we are moving, and I'm very encouraged by what I see from my colleagues. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, now the final one, before I ask our daughter Nang Kavira to translate, you have to summarize all this. There is our argument about the coffee. You see, there was a debate in Parliament, ebigambo bisatu: obulimba, obunyunyusi, n'obutalengera. three very serious words. There is a paper like a Monitor. That Monitor is an agent paper. It is a paper of working for certain interests. It's obunyunyusi, and the use of limba, parasitism, using lies, and then taking advantage of telling our people not seeing far. So this issue of do we continue exporting only the husk coffee, what they call cassé? When we do that, how much money do we get per kilogram? And when the clever foreigner roasts the same kilo and grind the same kilo and sells it in the supermarket, how much does he get? And how many jobs do we lose? So I invited somebody from Coffee Development Authority. Is that the one? What's your name?
I'm Dr. Emmanuel Yamuremye.
Okay.
I'm the Managing Director, Uganda Coffee Development Authority.
So you tell us that Chivaro, the husked cassé, how much do I get per kilo? Then when you roast and grind and pack, what does he get?
Thank you, Your Excellency, and good evening, viewers. I would like to explain why about the economics of value addition in coffee. This is a story which starts, Your Excellency, by the third National Development Plan. Under your leadership, you have prioritized agro-industrialization and value addition in oil products, minerals, and agricultural crops like coffee. And as scientists, we believe you are actually a scientist ahead of us, because when we process this coffee, that is the actual transformation. We saw other developed countries, they started from production, but they added value to their products. Because when we export, rather when we process these products, we add value, we increase the earnings to the country and to the producers 6 times. And right now, when we look at the coffee we are producing in the country, we have very limited value addition. And with your vision, the direction we are moving is to transform the green beans by roasting them and grinding them in powder. That is what is being used in most of the countries to produce the coffee we drink in most of the cafes and the coffee shops. But also when we have the beans which are broken, the broken beans, and also small beans, we can also transform them in soluble coffee or instant coffee. So the rise we have been hearing and reading in newspapers were actually unfounded, because many countries which are producing coffee, they are also adding value. But also when we go to Europe and America, which doesn't produce they don't grow this coffee, they are actually drinking this coffee. So why can't we transform this coffee here, create jobs and incomes for our people, and make them rich? Uganda is the birthplace of Robusta coffee. The coffee we produce here is of 2 types. We have Arabica coffee, which grows in highlands like Nibugisu, Kigezi and Kasese, and also Robusta coffee. So the Robusta coffee was born in Uganda, and we need to take advantage of the coffee we have. It constitutes 80%. So the stories we've been reading, which are totally lies about the transformation of our coffee, we have been looking at how we can transform the Robusta coffee, which is indigenous in Uganda, and look at the big beans like Screen 18. We roast them, we grind them because they have high value. When we look at the transformation of the big beans like Screen 18, 1 kilo of green beans, when we roast and grind it, we get 700 grams. So 1 kilo, we get 70% of the roast and ground coffee. And when we sell this coffee, it attracts very high price compared to when we are selling only the green beans. But also those which are undergrade, the small beans and those which are broken, when we transform them in instant coffee or soluble coffee.
Yoweri, first give us the cost of the 1,000 grams of unprocessed, unprocessed, you would get how much? 1 kilo, you would get how much?
1 kilo of unprocessed coffee, on average, we get $2.26 per kilo.
$2.26. Now, once you roast and so on,
when we roast,
it becomes 700 grams.
We get per kilo, we get $12.02.
$12.
Yes, per kilo.
The 700 gives you 12.
Yes.
$12 and what?
And 2 cents.
Okay. Okay. 12.2.
Yes.
Okay.
Now, when we look at the powder, that is the instant coffee, we've been exporting that instant coffee to other countries like India, like Vietnam, like Ecuador, which now transform that coffee and sell. Some of this coffee comes back. We have been seeing the coffee like Nescafe, that is the instant coffee. We sell the green beans, they process it from there and then they bring it back.
How much do you pay for that one?
How
much are we paid?
For a 1 jar of 100 grams.
No, the kilo first here.
The kilogram, when we are selling this coffee, the raw grade beans, we are selling them at about $1 per kilo.
$1?
Yes.
And when it is transformed?
Now, when it is transformed, a jar of 100 grams at the local supermarket is selling at 20 shillings, Uganda shillings. 20 shillings per jar of coffee, the powdered instant coffee.
So how much is the kilo? I want to compare the kilo.
When we look at, we can, one jar, there are 10 jars that constitute 1 kilo. That means we are getting 200. That would be 200,000 Uganda shillings from 1 kilogram.
How many is that in dollars?
When we look at the Uganda exchange, at the exchange rate of 380 Uganda shillings, 380, we are looking at about $40. $40.
$40?
That is $65, pardon me.
65? So we get $1 and somebody gets $55?
Yes.
This is serious. Huh? Oh. Okay. So this is 200 shillings.
200 shillings from. That is 200 shillings, Your Excellency. per gram.
Okay, and the grams are 1,000.
Yes, we have 1,000 grams in a kilo.
So that's just 200,000 shillings for one jar.
Yes. For 10 jars of 100 grams, that's how they are sold in the supermarket.
Mm-hmm. So for what we get $1, somebody gets $55. That's
After transformation, after adding other flavors and sugars,
yes.
they get $55.
Okay.
So how much money are we losing as Uganda as exporting the green beans? Looking at the exports we've had, Your Excellency, at the end of this financial year, we exported 6.3 million bags, and each bag is 60 kilograms, and we brought to the country 862 million Uganda shillings. And we are celebrating as the highest we have ever collected.
$800 million.
$862 million. This is the highest we have ever collected as a country from coffee. This is higher than 625 million which we brought in the country last financial year. This is because the prices have been escalating. Brazil was hit by frost, so we took advantage, and thanks to Your Excellency for the visionary leadership, because the seedlings which we distributed with the leadership of OWC are now in production, and now the volumes have gone up. So we took advantage of Brazil, and we have very good quality coffee which is highly demanded, and therefore they are coming here, the big companies and Uganda, to export green beans. But it's high time we transformed this coffee, because we would have 13 times, if we combine roast and ground, and also the instant coffee, would bring in the country 13 times the revenue we are earning now.
That would be about 8 to 9 billion.
If we look at the 9 times the 862 we have brought in, that is almost 1.3 billion. If we look at 13 times the value we have brought in...
It's not one, it's about 10 billion.
About that, 10 billion.
Yeah. So we are now getting $800 million, and we could get almost 10 billion. That's what you are saying.
Yes, but that means we have to, we assume we will transform all our coffee we are producing by value addition. We drink the coffee here, and part of the coffee we export.
Yeah, but you can export. You can export even if you don't drink it. Yeah, if they will buy it, can they not? Why would they not buy it if it's processed here?
Your Excellency, there are issues to do with good manufacturing practices, and what we have been reading in newspapers, the bad people have started the game, because together Uganda Development, UCDA together with Uganda Development Corporation, which is the investment arm of the government, we are going ahead with the soluble coffee plant. We have the committee headed by the Permanent Secretary, Minister of Finance, have recently approved our concept. We have advertised it so that we have Ugandans to have shares in it, but also we have others from abroad who can invest with government and Ugandans, so that we have, the company can help us in marketing abroad, because they are better, they know the market better than us. But Ugandans, we also invest in it so that we don't export green beans, but we export value-added products. We produce knowing that there is a market, we produce knowing that there is more value, but importantly, we'll be creating more jobs. So this is a concept, Your Excellency, that we request that you support, because we have a youngest population who needs to understand coffee, drink coffee, because coffee brings health benefits. That's why the Europeans and Americans want to take coffee, because they know it is actually medicine. and therefore we can start with our own product by drinking value-added coffee, and we create jobs, and also we make money to bring to the economy, Your Excellency.
Okay, now so how are they campaigning it?
They have started saying we have brought back the other company through another window, and what we are telling them is that it is open. It is actually on our website, and we encourage Ugandans to take interest if they have their friends abroad, or if they can get the technology here. We encourage them. All we want is to have the soluble coffee plant. And we are not limited, because the product we have here, even if we bring 20 roasters, 10 soluble coffee plant, it's still enough. There is still enough coffee.
Okay. So translate.
Webale nnyo Oweekitiibwa President. Waliwo engineer lumu kye yatubuulidde ekiwujjo. Kino kivudde ku ab'e Bulaayi eyo embeera gye bayitamu kati mu kuzikiza omuliro. Ffe wano e Uganda President ayita mu bannassaayansi okulaba nga twerinda. Ekiwujjo kino ekya engineer lumu ne banne kye bateeka ku mmotoka ebadde ekozesa diesel, naye kati bali mu kukola ne
abazungu tebamanyi kuzikiza muliro, baguzanyiramu. Baleeta otunyonyi, akanyonyi kakasuka akapeero kamu ne kagenda. Bano kulwaki tebayitanze omunarukoola nembayamba. That's how I came in. Kubanga nze ndi wa mulukoola.
Yes, sir.
Tumanyi okuzikiza omuliro.
Omuliro oguzikiza gye gulaga, ova gye gulaga, n'oguzikiriza eyo mu kifo ky'okugugoberera nga gugenda eno naawe n'ozikiza. Kati awo oba tusobola kikola. Engineer lumu atubuulidde.
It's the other way around. You come it from the back. Oba gye guvudde, kubanga gye gulaga gugenda kukwokya omuliro.
Ekiwujjo kino kye bagenda okuteeka ku mmotoka, bali mu kulowooza kati okozesa emmotoka nga ekozesa amasannyalaze. Kijja kuyamba, tujja kuba nga tutegese ebyokwerinda by'omuliro ogwo nga tulina ekiwujjo kyaffe kino. Era engineer lumu agambye nti mweteefuteefu okutwala ab'amawulire badde nakasongola balabeko, basobole okukiiraga bannayuganda bamanye nti mu Uganda mulimu bascientists abakola emirimu bwe giti. Kakati dokita atubuulidde ku era ekibaleera ekiri abanalukoola tulina engeri yaffe gye tuzikizamu omuliro ey'obujjajja. Kati eyo gye twateeka mu bano aba science, kubanga ffe tukozesa ekiwujjo ekyo
branches,
amatabi g'emiti. Nkozesa amatabi g'emiti okuzikiza omuliro. Kati bataddeko ba engineer lumu bagasseeko science aliwo ku science w'amagezi g'Abaganda, amagezi g'olukoola, amagezi g'abannalukoola. Yoyo naye tumugasse ku science owa mukulu musaasizi ow'emmotoka ez'amasannyalaze, kubanga President atugambye nti ensonga ziri bbiri ezijja okututaasa ebizibu bino bye tulimu, kwe kugenda ku science agenda kututaasa, naye n'eggaali y'omukka naye ejja kututaasa. Kakati President yatugambye nti ekyebbeeyi okulinnya kyava ku korona. Korona oyo naye yayongedde okutuzuukusa, kubanga awali ekibi bw'okebera obulungi wabeerawo ekirungi. Enkonge bw'emala okukuba n'obuuka wadde ekukubye ennyo, naye era ofuna amagezi agagisiguukululawo. So kati amagezi ba dokita nga President abagaidinze n'okubasapootinga ku by'ensimbi kwe kulaba nga bakola eddagala ery'okugema sirina kigambo kirala kyenyiza oddikozesa si ddagala naye vaccines kye bakuteekamu ne kizuukusa abasirikale bo okwerinda okwaŋŋanga ekirwadde ekyo bwe kinaaba nga kikulumbye mu mubiri gwo bakusisimulamu nga bakutaddemu omusirikale oyo azuukusa ababo Katonda be yakkoleramu oba oli awo naawe b'okuuma nga olya bulungi omubiri ne gubeera nga gwekuumye. Kakati vaccine twalibadde nga tulaba nti tutambudde olugendo luwanvu naye nabo abasawo baakosebwa obudde covid lwe yali atutwaliriza. Pulezidenti yali yabalagira naye ate ng'essira balina okuliteeka ku kulaba nti tusooka ne tujjawo ekirwadde. Naye batubuulidde nti batambudde olugendo lulungi era ku ssaawa eno nga bagezesa ku mmese enzungu. Abantu bannayuganda abamu balowooza nti malya ga nsimbi bwe baamanya essente ezigula emmese zino ze bagezesezaako ne baga nti ekyo kirabika waliwo omulyo. Naye emmese zino abazungu bazitraininga ne ziba nga basobola okuzigezesaako mu kifo ky'okutuukira ku bantu. Kakati na wano mu Uganda okugezesa okwo bazikyusa mu butonde bakyusa mu butonde bwazo. They changed their genetic. Okwagala okwefaananyiriza naffe abantu nti bwe baba bagesereza ku mmese eno era bamanya nti ddala n'omuntu we banaamuteekamu akadagala kano akasisimula abasirikale be ajja kuwona kubanga emmese baba bagikyusizzaamuko nga kumpi yeefaananyiza n'omuntu. Kale emmese eyo si eya bulijjo eri mu nnyumba zaffe wabula mmese egula essente nnyingi era batusuubizza nti ebizuuliddwa okuva mu kugezesa okwo biwa amaanyi era Uganda erina essuubi okufuna vaccine oba eddagala eryo erigema ebirwadde bino. Ebirwadde bijja ne bigenda ate ne bidda. Kati nga waliwo oyo kawaali namusuna ow'enkima kawumpuli kawaali yaliko wanedda naye ne tumulwanyisa nga tewali vaccine eyo emibiri gyaffe ne gimulwanyisa naye akomawo tomanya nankomawo gyakomyewo. Kati oba bajjajjaffe tebasobola kukola eddagala erigemebwa ffe abazzukulu abaliwo pulezidenti atugamba eddagala eryo tulikole era akoola bannayuganda ku kintu ekikwatagana ku bannasayansi tube nga twogera eddoboozi limu okubayamba kubanga bwe batugenda otukolera eddagala erinaatuwonya ate tufune ebiseera ebyeyagaza. Kati waliwo n'ekibalo
Profesa Ponsiana agambye nti oyo kawaali ow'enkima abadde atawanya abantu naye ffe Abafrika tetufaayo. Alyose n'alumba abazungu kwe kutandika okukola eddagala erigema. Kati awo kitegeeza nti Omwafrika ye talina bbeeyi, ebbeeyi ejja obulwadde bwe bukwata ku muzungu. You put it in better Uganda olw'ekiboga.
Kawaali oyo yatuluma era abazungu nga bamanyi nti atuluma naye Katonda n'atutaasa ne tubeerawo. Tebaayiiya ddagala kubanga ffe Abafirika era tuli bwe tutyo naye Mukama talyazaamaanya. Kawaali ono agenze n'aluma abazungu ne bazuukuka. Amaze kubaluma ne bazuukuka kati okola eddagala lino erimugema. So badoctors bagamba kati naffe tetujja kulinda kubanga baatuleka ne tufa, baatuleka ne tubeera ne kawaali ne batayiiya naye kati basobodde okuyiiya kubanga abalumbye. Naffe katwekamwane tukozese bannasayansi baffe be tulina tusobole okuba nga mu labs zaffe tulinamu eddagala eryo eriyinza okututaasa singa kawaali akomawo. Kati kino nakyo kikulu ekyokumanya ekibalo mu buli kye tukola. Pulezidenti kyajja ayogerako naye ng'akawungezi ka leero twogedde ku kibala ku kirime kimu eky'emmwanyi kubanga waliwo ebibadde bifuluma mu lupapula lw'amawulire lwayogedde olwa monita ebitali bituufu ku mmwanyi zino ne kaweefube pulezidenti gwaliko okukola okulaba nga ekibalo kitujjayo. Omukulu avudde mu kitongole ky'emmwanyi atubuulidde nti kase emmwanyi ze tukubye ne tufuna kase bwe tubanga tuzisiise ne tukola kaawa tufunamu emirundi 6 bw'obanga weewaddeyo n'okuba kase n'omusiika n'otunda kaawa ojja kufunamu emirundi 6 ate ojja kubanga ogabye n'emirimu akubye asiise n'apakidde kaawa oba ogabye emirimu. Tulina ebika by'emmwanyi 2 waliwo arabika oyo ali mu mambuka eyo bugisu ne wabeerawo ne robasta gwe bayita emmwanyi ezaffe ezawano born in Uganda zawano za singa abantu twaligambye enzaaliranwa naye zaffe zawano mu Uganda. Kati emmwanyi ezo bw'obanga osobodde okusunsula kye bayita abali mu ddiiru oba mu kulima emmwanyi screens zino muzitegeera ndowooza esinga obulungi ye screen 18 bw'obanga osobodde okusunsula n'ojjamu screen eyo gye bayita 18 namba 18 ekibalo ky'ofunamu mu kiro emu eyakase nga tomusiise ojja kufuna $2 ne sente 26. Okoze bulungi namba yo 18 otunze omuntu akuguzeeko oba yagenze kusiika ojja kumanya ekibalo kyafunyemu. Kaakati bw'obanga osiise n'osa ofunamu $12 ne sente 2 kubanga twategedde nti amagoba wano okubisaamu 6 kakati wano bojja kufuna gwa yeewaddeyo n'osiika n'osa n'otunda kaawa bojja kufuna $12 oli yafunye $2 ne sente 26 naye gwe bojja kufuna $12 ne sente 2. Kakati bwe tugenda waliwo bino ebiba bisigaddewo ng'oggyeko 18 ebiba bisigaddewo ebyo era bakolamu kaawa mu kiro emu osobola ofunamu $1 gwakoze atunze obutunzi nga tokoze instant tomukozeemu mubisi gwa kaawa oba kaawa ow'amazzi ng'ojja kufuna $1 siringize 3,800 naye yeewaddeyo n'agamba kanteekeko omutindo nfune obukebe kaawa ono nkubirawo n'onywerawo jaaga zange 10 eziva mu kiro nja kufunamu $55 oba $20 egya Uganda. Oli yafunye siringi 3,800 ono eyeewaddeyo n'afuba n'aleeta n'abaana baffe ne bamukolerako awo n'agabako ku mirimu afunye $20 mu kiro. Kati bwe tuba tubala kye tufiirwa omwaka guno twatunze miliyoni z'ensawo z'emmwanyi nga buli nsawo ya kiro 6 miliyoni 6 mu $300 ne tutunda $862 miliyoni za $862 omwaka guno. Omwaka oguwedde tezaawera twatunda miliyoni za $620 kase Kakati ekibalo kiri bwe tukikola wano tuba tukubyamu emirundi 13 okulabira ddala sente ze tufiiriddwa olw'obutateekako mutindo, olw'obutakola kibalo. Buli muntu alina emmwanyi ze yeenoonyeza anaazigula atunze kase. Tewaliwo kintu kiri centro kiyinza kulaba nti tuggyeko namba 18 tutunze, tuggyeko zino ezitali ku mutindo bulungi tukoze kawa waffe oyo w'okunywa. Buli omu ali ku lulwe. Tetulina kintu kiri centro okulaba nga gavumenti efunamu kiralo. Miliyoni za $862 bw'okubyamu emirundi 13 ng'abakugu bwe batugambye tuba tufuna obuwumbi 11 mu miliyoni 160 11.106. Kati bw'oddira obuwumbi buno 11 mu miliyoni 160 n'otoolako miliyoni 862 eza dola ze twafunye nga tutunze butunzi kase, balance oyo asigalawo ze miliyoni za dola nyingi ziringanga miliyoni 3 mu something ze tuba tufiiriddwa.
Billion 10. Ofuirwa
biliyoni 10.
Yeah.
Biliyoni 10 ezitali nganda eza dola. Olw'okubanga ekibalo tetukigenderako, President kyatugamba buli kaseera ekibalo kiwula. So kati ab'emmwanyi era tebatudde batugambye nti kampuni ey'Abannayuganda nga baddembe okugiyingiramu weeri ne ku ntimbagano osobola okugendayo n'olaba kampuni eyo ng'egenda okukola omulimu ogw'okulaba nga tetufiirwa bwe tuti. Tulina okubuulira abantu okubayigiriza okunywa kaawa, mindset change, okubayigiriza okunywa kaawa. Omuzungu yakimanyi ti kaawa ddagala, naye ffe twogera ne bye tutamaze kubuulirizaako. Kaawa nkubisa entunnunsi, kaawa ajja kumbuza otulo, kaawa n'odi campaigningira ddala ate ekirime kyo. So kampuni eno erina tukolera ogwo omulimu, kubanga bw'eteegukole buli omu ajja kulooza nti waliwo akola, tugende mu maaso n'okufiirwa. So era omukulu atugambye nti asaba Bannayuganda batwale ensonga eno nga nkulu, kubanga emmwanyi zirimibwa wonna mu Uganda. Singa tulina awali centro bwe tuzikuŋŋaanyiza ne tumanya nti omutindo gwegwo ozaanise bulungi, screen 18 ejja kubanga yeeyo, n'ebisigaddewo ku screen eza wansi tuba tusobola okufunamu ssente nga tutunze instant coffee. Ono nywa coffee, naye ng'ekikulu kwe kumanya nti ffe tulina okutunda n'okumaketinga oba okuyimbirira emmwanyi zino. Owekitiibwa.
But why is this lower grade coffee, why is it earning more when processed than screen 18?
Your Excellency, we are talking about the transformation effect we get from the instant coffee. Most of the countries which are beginning to drink coffee, they start from instant coffee, and it is easier to drink. In most of the homes, in the offices, instant coffee you just pour in water. It is convenient. And therefore, looking at countries like China, which are starting to drink coffee, they start from instant coffee because it is easier. It is softer and it is convenient.
And the other one?
The other one is usually they first brew it in a machine, or sophisticated methods of brewing it at home, But there you have to use some technique of being trained, but instant coffee is easier and convenient.
Okay. Now, at Nayate, what is amazing, before I came here, on this UBC, they were showing cocoa. People are making chocolate from cocoa now. Here. I was watching, before there was a program, before we came here. Cocoa, which people started growing more recently. You have got people who are already making chocolate from cocoa to chocolate, from the garden to the table. Now, coffee has been here for so long, but it is from the garden to the Mary, to the trade, not to the table. Because when you sell cassé, somebody cannot drink that cassé. You cannot say from the garden to the table. So why have the people of cocoa moved faster than you people?
Your Excellency, fortunately, Uganda Coffee Development Authority is handling both commodities, coffee and cocoa. And the Coffee Research Institute in Chituza, part of the money that comes from the export of coffee is being used to develop varieties of coffee and varieties of cocoa. So there are many variations that is going on, both in coffee and cocoa. There are rotations, there are anti-aging, like those of us who are above 50 years, now we have to start taking the products from other products of cocoa. So it is not just the beverage. But the reason, Your Excellency, is that the coffee research is not very highly funded, and therefore these products traditionally has been drinking coffee, but there are other products which are available. Given an opportunity, Your Excellency, at the Ginger Showground, where we are going next month, we'll be displaying all these products from cocoa and also from coffee, not just the drinking of the coffee, of the beverage. And right now, UCDA, we are developing the raw to regulate cocoa, because cocoa has been like a wild crop. Everybody goes to harvest, there is no regulation. So we want to make cocoa also one of the big commodities in addition to coffee and tea. And cocoa has even more, brings in more money, because the only countries in Africa which are producing cocoa is Ghana, is Ivory Coast. But those countries also produce coffee, and the same organization like UCDA are managing both coffee and cocoa. So Africa is producing 70% of cocoa, and we have a favorable climate. So if we put regulations and also have good practices, we can be one of the 70% of the countries producing cocoa.
Okay. Okay, let's get, Bariumus, you have anything to say?
Thank you very much, Your Excellency. Just to add a few comments, that listening to the engineers and the doctors, I think it justifies the point you have been pushing of the need to promote the teaching and learning of science. Because when we got the challenge of now the environmental effects of the fossil fuels, the diesel and the petrol, it takes now the work of the engineers, the scientists, to find a solution in electric cars. Similarly, when we got the challenge of COVID-19, we reached a point when many people were dying, but the infection rates have come down because the scientists have been able to come up with vaccines, which vaccines have helped to put down the COVID-19 pandemic. So there has been a debate in the country, for instance, why are we paying the scientists better and so forth. But I think this is a clear justification that we need to promote science, because we get solutions to the prevailing problems from science. And I also want to assure the viewers and listeners that the scientists who are working on the COVID-19 virus are on the right path, because also the vaccines which were developed from outside, those are the steps which they take. Because people have been asking whether these vaccines are safe, and they are indeed very safe. As you heard from Professor Karebu, doctors don't inject you with coronavirus. But like in the case of AstraZeneca, they even use a virus from a chimpanzee. And there are also other vaccines where they extract what we call RNA, just proteins from the viruses. So they are doing a good job, and we need to support them, because the development of the vaccines starts with getting a candidate vaccine. You try it on animals, particularly to check the safety, see whether the animal will die or it develops a reaction. And once you are satisfied that there is safety, then you can go into the second stage of clinical trials on human beings. And then you do 3 phases. Phase 1, then you increase the number of people, then you expand number of people before you can go for approvals of the vaccine. So they need to be supported. And the good thing is that they are customizing these trials for our own situation, because some of the vaccines were developed in America and Europe, but here they are even trying using the virus which we have here, and I think that's a very good thing, and they should be supported. Finally, Your Excellency, there was a big debate on coffee, but you are right. We produce a lot of coffee here in Uganda, but from the explanation